Now
Hello.
it has.
Hello.
Hello.
How are we? We are
Hopefully
in
live.
the same room.
Crazy, eh?
Can you hear us? Can anybody hear us?
I think it's working. I could test. Oh, I can't actually.
Can anybody hear us? Okay, mics are bouncing up and down, so we're good, I think.
There's
Nice to see everybody.
There's a 30-second delay, so we're not going to know for 30 seconds
Exactly.
anyhow.
We just have to wait for 30 seconds.
There we are. How are we? Are we all good? Nice to have you here. Now, we know there's a football game on in less than an hour, so
which we're watching.
We will make it short and sweet.
Evening, Turbo. Nice to see you, Mark. Nice to see you. Abducted. So Abducted was at FarmCon. We can hear you. Thank you, Amy.
Good hand.
Mark was at FarmCon. Turbo was at FarmCon.
DJ Goham was at FarmCon.
Oh, hello, DJ Goham.
Hey, buddy.
Good to see you all.
Was there. There's a whole heap of people there.
There is, isn't there?
Yeah.
So, hey, Omatana's in as well.
Ah.
We loved your song that you released today. If you've not seen it, everybody, go and see Omatana's song. It's fantastic.
Yeah, no, it was good. It was really, really good.
Really good. No, Nicholas Earl, we do not mean soccer. We mean football.
Oh, I've made a new friend in Mark wearing this shirt. So we went and did a tour of Old Trafford yesterday, which was really, really cool.
And I'm having to wear this because I still feel unclean after spending some time at Old Trafford.
Yeah. Right, should we get into it? So we thought we would just go through some of the presentations. We've got the slideshows that were shared at FarmCon, the three main ones, the engine, the map, and the machines.
Yep.
And so we thought we'd just flick through those really quickly and just have a little bit of a chat about what we took out of it, what we found was exciting, interesting.
Our experience
those kind of
as
things.
well. Yeah.
So, and do it all in less than an hour. So.
Yeah, so we can go watch the footy.
Yeah. From Barkman, had a great time with you guys. Nice to meet you too, Barkman.
Wonderful. Brilliant. Right, so let's jump over to here. Let's walk through these one by one. So I think, what was your general takeaway from seeing the President's Meet? Was it?
I think we talked about just so much to take in and so much new features, new content, and everything just feels like it's been improved.
Yeah.
As a whole. So
100%.
Yeah.
And I think this is the reason we're starting with the game engine stuff, because there's some stuff in here that I think kind of has fundamental impact on what modders are going to be able to do going forward, and just general detail and quality and things like that in the map. So
yeah, that's right.
So from that perspective, we kind of thought we'd start with this, and then we'd go and look at the map, and then we'd look at some of the gameplay stuff after that. So first up, not that button, wrong button.
Oh, that's changing.
There we go. So I probably don't need to carry on that one, do we?
No, we don't. So we can just talk about it in general. So improved fog, like we saw that in the pre-stream, and they shared a whole lot more about it, and just visually hearing about how it works, just things, it accumulating in the valleys and the water, different times of day, different times of year, all those kind of things, the density of the fog.
That's right.
That was pretty cool.
And they did say that actually you'd be there is a lot of adjustment for modders. So if you're building a map, you can control as and when the fog appears, the fog height, the density, there's tons and tons of scope for that kind of editability within the map. So
yeah,
that was pretty exciting, wasn't it?
It was, and I think there was comments about like the God rays and why do you wear shot in the fog? Well, it's kind of fundamental to be able to see the God rays. You need some particles in the air to light up. So
that's right.
It was there. Hey DJ, we've got the little fluffy things on the mics too. We took your advice. There we go.
We actually did listen to you just once. It's not. We'll not make it a forum.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just from a visual point and an aesthetic point, like you can see the fog just sitting there over top of the fields and everything. It's just, I think it'll really add to the game. Just so it's not there all the time.
Yeah. And a few people said actually at FarmCon, this is going to make things like screenshots and like the cinematic stuff and the stuff that we use to make videos really exciting, I think, going forward, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
But we'll not dwell on that because it's been talked about a lot, actually, hasn't it? So we've seen all of this stuff before. I still think it looks fantastic and is a big step forward from
there was one actually I
22.
saw when we were flicking through before, and it was looking like the other way from the rays, and you could see them sort of shooting from the sun behind you.
Oh,
which was
nice.
Pretty cool. Yeah.
I wonder if it's in here.
Can't remember now. We'll wait and see.
We will.
It looks a lot more polished. Agreed. You don't need the fuzzies when they're clipped inside, though. We're learning. Leave us alone.
Leave us alone. Shut up, DJ. Who invited you?
Please don't leave.
Yeah, please don't leave. So yeah, clouds as well. We talked about that already. There's nothing kind of beyond what we first.
I think the main thing was the dynamics. So the density of clouds. Like on a cloudier day, you'll see more cloud shadows and things like that.
Yeah.
So if there's only a few clouds around, you only get a few clouds. And the other thing that was really pointed out, and there was an image that showed an object, was that the edges of the shadows are real fuzzy. There you go.
Yeah, there we
right
go.
there. So you look at the top of the post, the shadow from the post, the shadow's really fuzzy, whereas down the base it's really, really sharp. So
and again, softer in overcast skies. You don't get as a heavier shadow, sharper shadow. So just those little subtleties. I mean, some people might not care about it. For me, the visualization of the game is really important, and I think it looks really like I like this stuff. It just kind of gets me going, right?
Yeah,
floats my boat.
Yeah, you'll be here tomorrow. It's going to be a blast. We get to hang out with the Americans again.
This as well was interesting as well. So in the past, you wouldn't have had shadows on things like this, and it would look very two-dimensional. But now they're going to have this really subtle stuff. But I think all matched together, it's going to look really, really good, isn't it?
Yeah. Yep.
This was exciting too. So merged shadows. So basically, if you've got two things shining on each other, there's a lot of kind of clever stuff happening in terms of like casting the shadows behind the wheels there. You can see that, and they said, if you walk in front of the lights as it's sitting there, it will cast that kind of blended shadow as it goes.
Yeah, if you stood in between the tractors.
Yeah. Nicholas Earl cares about shadows. Thank you, Nicholas. So this as well. This was quite big because we didn't know anything about this before. And again, look at the detail. You probably can't see it on there actually, but it's actually holding chunks of mud on the tires. So it's not just painting it brown. There's actual chunks of mud getting stuck to the tires. You can look at that bottom. This image down here. That looks really good. And apparently there is particles, so it will start to fly off as you're driving along on the road as well.
Yeah. So if you're in a muddy field, your tires will get muddy, run out on the road. Technically, they should dry out. So.
Hey, Crofter, how you doing?
Hey, Crofter. Good to see you, mate. Jump back onto our screen. Oh, not that one.
Not that one.
That one there. There we go.
Yeah, there we go. Good driving.
Get there eventually.
Rain effects, they were exciting as well. I think the fact that vehicles will get more glossy, tires will get more glossy and shiny when they were wet. But also, as they start to dry out, it's not like it's either on or off. It would kind of gradually fade over time. Same on the roads. So the roads will take time after it's stopped raining to dry out. So you'll get puddles and things like that, and reflections and things.
We saw that in the water, and but yeah, even just the road effects.
AJ, so the shadows are nice, but I can't say that isn't more important and crucial. Oh, we're not saying it's not. We're not saying it's like we're not going to hang our hat on the fact that shadows are the winning. We're just working through the order of the presentation that they talked in, because there is some interesting stuff.
There's actually heaps more stuff, which is from a game perspective and mappers and that sort of thing. It's going to be much more exciting.
So improve
you can actually start to see it here with the edge of the roads, because the roads don't have geometry anymore.
Yeah. So what we decided, that's basically roads are painted, so they follow the contour of
from what we understand.
Yeah, as opposed to having to lay road on track.
Yeah. Fence don't work in the rain, they stop working on Sunday. You're right, Mark. I think it was probably the employees didn't want to get out and get wet rather than the tractors. But
yeah. So rain, I think we have rain on windscreens as well. Windscreen wipers and things like that is looking good. The water simulation. Now this is somewhere I kind of didn't think looked potentially as good as it could. There's no shadow on the tires as they hit the water here, so it looks like it's kind of, as DJ said to me, it looks like Jesus is driving the tractor because he's walking on water.
Yeah.
Kind of. So whether or not they'll do something with the shadows there, but the bow wave stuff and all of that is, I mean, that's a huge step forward from.
Well, you're almost getting
22.
You get reflected bow waves off the edge of the bank.
Yeah.
And you see them sort of reflecting off, which is pretty cool tech.
Yeah.
And a little bit of water, they might be going to enhance the effects a little bit further, but you are starting to see droplets, picking up off the back and the tires getting wet and all that sort of thing.
Yeah, also splashes on the side there. There's some nice touches there, but there's something missing. It was almost like there's a separation between the tire hitting the water and all
but of course, as they say on it, it's work in progress. It's not final. There's still a lot of time to go.
Yeah. There you go. AJ is loving the wet look on the. So actually, AJ, there's a thing coming from there with which is the way they're calibrating the colors. So they're basically, if at different angles when the light hits vehicles, there's actually a depth to the paint. And then before it could end up being very flat, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could.
But actually, what they've done here now is designed it so that actually, when the light hits it in different angles, it changes a lot more, and you've got that clear coat, so there's more reflection, and then the coats underneath. So there's tons going on there, and that's before you drop in things like dirt and snow and things over the top. So the dirt on the tires, by the way, just to go back to that, they said that would work with snow, with lime in fields, and things like that as well. So it's not just mud.
Yeah. The interesting thing with this, and so we were actually standing next to the CEO, Christian, when they were presenting this, and he was sort of saying this is technology that Ferrari used for trying to match colors rather than, and his example was he held his thumb up, wherever the camera is, but he held his thumb up and, the old, that's right, near enough is good enough.
Yeah.
So
there's a question from Rick there. Between you two fellas, from what you've seen so far, what is your favorite thing you're most looking forward to?
I want to see more about ground deformation. It's we've seen a little bit, and we kind of got a bit of an answer about how far it's going to go, but until we've actually seen it and played with it, I'll wait to see exactly what it's like. It does look good, though. It does look good.
Yeah, it does. It's hard to say. I don't know yet. Ground deformation looks definitely good. I'm quietly optimistic about the AI workers as well. From what we've seen, I think it seems to be quite intuitive. But we'll come on to that. When are we getting more leaks? We don't do leaks, Mads. We wait until it's announced by. I'm not the real Dagwin, so well, we kind of guessed that by the spelling.
Spelling gave that away. So in the next, I think the next thing we're going to see is at Gamescom, isn't it?
That's right.
The next big drop of information from Giants.
That's right. Just covering this off. How are we doing for time, Max?
Yeah, we're up.
The clear
45
coat
minutes
layer.
to kick off.
Yeah, the clear coat layer. So this is what you would see as a tractor in FS22, and the paint's pretty flat and things like that. Now you watch the top of the hood there, bonnet, and look at the amount, and even in the shadows there's reflection. So that clear coat is going to bring a lot more detail, I think, which is really, really nice. I think that looks great.
I'd help us work, and it was good to know modders won't need to do anything. That is the best part we heard, Cavalier Roy.
Yes.
Was that the modders won't have to do anything special, and you can plow a field together or make a field bigger and things like that, and it'll just work. And Stefan was really big about making it easy. Yeah,
and I think there was a bit of confusion maybe picked up from the presentations that if you had a mod map, you would have to kind of set the field boundaries and stuff, and do a lot more setup in the map, and that's not the case.
We'll get to it. There's some images on there.
Yeah, it self predicts what's going on.
So I think we kind of thought about it a little bit further. That might just be a way that you can test in the engine, in the editor, to say, if I use this tractor with this piece of equipment hooked up, will it generate a course?
Yeah.
When
Josh modding, no need to watch the game. Do you know, I wholeheartedly agree with you. And it doesn't matter after watching the other game, the Spain-France game. I think whoever wins tonight is going to lose in the final anyway.
Yeah. There you go, my designs. Nice. Caught alive. Good to have you here, mate.
Yeah, nice to see you, man.
Do you get a disc in the PS5? I don't think there is a PS5 collector's edition.
Collector's
edition's only for PC.
PC, unfortunately. In fact, we pressed. In fact, Mr. Seeley P said, didn't he? You need to do. Why do you do a console collector's version? People would shell out good money for that.
Absolutely. It doesn't matter how many layers it got as long as you don't wash it.
So this was exciting.
Yeah.
Detail.
Yeah. So
way more detail.
So I think previously, and there's plenty of people who make maps in here, I'm pretty sure is it 1024 was the resolution for terrain resolution, which is basically 1,000 meters or 1,000 pixels for 2,000 meters along the line. So it's 2 meters per pixel. So they're basically quadrupling that when you do the maths. It'll be a 2046
That's right. Yeah. So yeah, huge improvement in the amount of detail, and I think we kind of started to see bits of that in Silver Run. We saw kind of slightly higher res.
Definitely the resolution of the textures.
But this is actually kind of the displacement map as well. So I think the best way we described this was if you've used Terraform and you dig into the ground, you kind of get triangles and squares.
Yeah.
Because the ground, the actual displacement map is quite big.
You can't dig a trench, for example.
Exactly.
It just makes a big V.
So now there'll be 4 times as much detail in each kind of block as there was, so that's going to be exciting. I think that will be a big difference in terms of being able to, even smoothing and texturing within the building mode.
Nice.
And displacement map for fields as well. So actually, the ridges in the field will be part of the displacement map now because there's more detail. So the ridges will be.
So do you know? Actually, I've literally just thought about that. Seeing this image. You're not going to want to plant in a ploughed field because you'll be going like this as you're going across it.
That's a good point, actually. If you drove the wrong way across the ridges, you're going to bounce up and down.
Yeah, so you're going to want to cultivate it.
Whereas that was done with occlusion mapping before, so it was in essence, it was flat. But looked bumpy. Now you're actually going to have bumps in the field. So in terms of ground, so you've got ground deformation, but actually if you plow, you're going to get that on a different level as well.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because people thought we weren't going to get that, but just looking at that, it kind of suggests we are. I hadn't thought about that.
I hadn't thought about it till I just saw that.
And
was
it
thinking
says
about
the second bullet point influences physics simulation. So your tractor is going to bounce up and down even more in the field.
That's kind of
how did we miss that till now? See, this is why we're doing it afterwards and sitting down and like we've been kind of poring over these presentations today before the stream, just going, what have we missed? What else is in there? And that's a huge one. That's a huge one.
Yeah. So just as a bit of an insight into FarmCon, all the presentations, while the slides are in English, the presentation's all in German. So Kermit, where he had some English notes that he could share with us and sort of loosely translate what was being said, but we actually got the chance, and if you've seen some videos of some interviews with the 2 Stefans and Florian, the map designer, we did get the chance to sit down with 10 or 15 minutes with them and ask some more sort of specific questions, which was really cool. But
AJ's got a good question there. So he's done mapping up to 32x already. Doesn't run that smooth. The opening, the doubling of the vertices doesn't worsen performance. Well, I think there's some more numbers coming up, AJ. They've shrunk down the amount of data, but while
geometry data
retaining the quality. So and actually it opens up more slots.
Yeah.
Or it's less slot heavy on the console as well.
Yeah.
DJ, there are new mods on FS22. Can you do a video? Not that demanding.
I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will.
So there we go.
Him and CLP will be doing a joint. How cool would that be? Actually, a CLP and DJ joint mod video.
That would be good, wouldn't it? Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah.
So displacement mapping for fields. So this is the influences. So dynamically adjusted for tires and gameplay. So as well as so if you bounce across the field the wrong way across the ridges, you're going to get the tire marks in as well, which is awesome. But again, you'll see it adapts again. So it's continually moving. The ground is continually moving up and down.
Yeah.
So that's going to be really exciting.
Bouncing across.
Right.
Tree rendering. So I've improved tree rendering.
Yeah, basically. Simple as that. They've doubled up the amount of. Did you see the NPC info pass to the press? Lip sync and emotion on the Steam page. It says in English speech. Yes, we do know about that. We haven't got a shot of it. And DJ put a low res shot of it because we didn't have much info about it. But yes, NPC. There will be NPCs who speak to you and you can interact with, but we don't.
Sure.
Thank
you.
But we don't know what they're going to talk about yet. So there we go. As if my video isn't already uploaded. Mrs. FSG has just bought some Scottish water in.
Beverages.
So we'll have a drink about that. The skies are improved, which is great. I know a few people have said the clouds look a bit FS22-like, which I think is fair to say. They do, but then the night sky, look at that. I mean, look, you've got kind of a bit of
starry sky.
Lots of
It's almost
stars.
the Milky Way there, isn't
stars. The moon looks a lot more like a moon than just a yellow circle in the sky. So lots and lots of potential. Would the weight of the vehicle add extra effect to the ground impact? We believe it does. Why? We asked that question. Yeah. So as well as different times of year. So for example, in winter when the ground is frozen or hard, it won't compress the ground as much as it would do if the ground was soft and wet. Also, if you're on gravel, it doesn't compress as much as if you're on soil in a field, or if it's a planted field and you're running over at harvest time. So yeah,
and really tyre widths will have an impact too.
They will, yes, that's right. So there you go, double-sided rendering of the crops, less vertices for thin object. They're not 3D. And we talked about this in terms of what that could look like if they were 3D. But I think because there's so many different things going on here, just the volume of data would be really hard to when you think it across multiple fields on a map, it would just be potentially too much. So they've improved it. Is it perfect? No, I think kind of textures of crops is probably one thing that we're slightly...
Crops definitely look denser, but I think it's things when you start looking at the windrows that they've got at the moment. I still think they lack a little bit, but yeah, we'll see.
But they demoed it here in terms of, I mean, there's a lot more detail in terms of like even lower down the plant, there's, you know, there's a lot more straggly and things like that.
It almost looks better in editor than it does in game, to be honest.
It does, yeah, it does. But we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see. I've had a grumble about the windrows. So we'll see. I mean, I think there, when you're a little bit further away, it doesn't look so bad. But when you get up close and you see that they are two-dimensional, it's a little bit frustrating. Trees, I think, have come a long way from where they were. Again, two-dimensional in the branches, but I think you get away with it a lot more because there's just a lot more density, and you're majority of the time you're further away from them.
Yeah,
even if you're standing in the
also seems to be more variety in the tree types too, so we'll see. Right, keep moving because it's almost half past already.
So there we go. Giants Engine reduces geometry size from 8 megabyte to 4.5 megabyte, reducing slot count. So I think some of that data that you were talking about, AJ, will kind of end up kind of...
So that's an example there. Automatic internal compression reduces vertex data.
Yeah. So
yeah,
we'll just have to wait and see. And then virtual texturing for terrain. So we're going to get a lot more detail in the terrain, which is great. And we've got 4 to 16K textures now, which again, in the past were 1024.
Yeah.
So a lot more detail in the textures. And that is fundamentally down to dropping old gen consoles. The PS5s and Xbox X's can handle this. Yeah. So that's awesome. No geometry for streets as well. So they'll follow the contours of the land a lot better. So they'll feel a lot more natural as opposed to driving on a...
And there's not all those triangles to render.
That's right.
So from a performance point of view.
So that'll be a big deal. Hey, Joss, can you make a tractor, please? Yes, no.
It'll be interesting to see in an editor perspective, how do you make a road smooth? So what have they done in the editor to be able to... Are you using splines to follow that? Can you then use the spline painting and all that's available? So
yeah,
be interesting.
Very interesting. So that would be good. I wish they would confirm. I would expect that will come out as a DLC post-launch Dutch modding. I think there's a reliance on a few people for that. So John Deere and a few of the universities and people, it's kind of not just down to Giants, that one, unfortunately.
That's right. So there's an example of if it was lumpy, what the road would look like if it's not smooth properly. So just the way the textures follow the terrain, the base terrain, not the...
Which looks great. Even the kind of... Even the kind of painted, like not complete solid hard lines as well, make it look really, really good.
Right. It's just an example of before and after.
That's textures as well, isn't it? At the time,
this is all the triangles that used to be there to create it, and then if you go to the next, there you go, without them.
It's looking really good. Looking really good. Blending as well. So that's how it used to look, but now you can kind of merge things together, so you don't have as many hard lines. Let's see if there you go. So it kind of, and then they say bringing it back, so you can choose as and when you blend that stuff in to make it work better, which is nice. We think that as well, AJ. In terms of could it be paintable? The roads become paintable now rather than it being a.
That's the impression I got from it, rather than being a geometry like previously, where it is just a paintable road.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting if they made that available in the painting tool and game landscaping tools.
Yeah, possibly.
Road.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, US map tour. Should we have a look at that?
So we had a great little chat with Florian, the main designer for this. He was, I think we could have sat there and talked to him for hours about this map. He was just so excited about it. Had a lot to share. But the main thing is, obviously, it's set in the rice belt of the United States. It's not a particular state.
Probably some Californian cues in there, he mentioned, but also
more Mississippi, upper Mississippi, Wisconsin, I think it was. No, it wasn't Wisconsin.
No, further south,
further south. Anyhow,
more south. But generally, he was like, it's not based on one area of the state. So he wanted to try, and they said it was like, we're not trying to do it something. We're trying to just get a general feel for it, and that's what they tried to do with all their maps, actually. So this is interesting. I spotted this the other day. You've got you've got 6 dots at the top there, and you've got, I don't know what Alawan means, but can you scroll? Does it give you more data?
I don't know. That's interesting. Is that that'd be scrolling through your crops, then you'd show your growth stages, your fertilizer stages, your plowed state, all of those kind of things. But it's just
so that's an interesting way to do it. I like the way these slide out now as well, almost like they're on little trays. They've hidden a lot here. Let's be honest, we're going to have more menu items than this when the game arrives.
That's a select all tab. So I'm assuming instead of having to go through and click them all to turn them off, you can go select all, hide, and then if you wanted to just say show potatoes.
Ah, nice.
I'm guessing.
Okay.
Speculation.
A few people said this looked a lot like the FS17 HUD map. I like them, actually. I was quite taken with this.
Nice. I haven't actually looked at it on a screen this big, to be honest.
A little bit more detail in. No. And then it was just about like some of the new features, a lot of new plants. Obviously, we've got productions or loaders that we can use. Do
you know when I saw that? I just thought 2-wheel motorbikes. It's a ramp.
Yeah,
it's a jump.
That's a jump right there, right there. We've got this tug like barge as well, so you can obviously load these up and sell these further down the river. They've not said it yet, but it's pretty obvious. We've just got some kind of recreational boats as well. Now, this image here is really interesting because there's a tug in the water with these logs. Now, whether or not that can be used to push logs around, I don't know. It might just be
cool if it was animated.
Visual features, but we'll have to see. And then there's kind of other little boats as well. I'm not sure if you can use like this, almost this big kind of
houseboat type thing.
Yeah, it's interesting if you can actually use these or not. But just the general detail, there's the ferry boat. This sluice gate was interesting as well. So there's water, and I'm not sure if you can adjust it to different levels or it is just a placeable on the map to just give some interest. We'll have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. There it is again. But again, the bulrushes on the edge of the lake look really, really good. Shots like this are really great with the water.
It's so lush and dense. That's the main thing that I take away from it all. Like the trees in the background, even though they're quite a way away, they're not just blobs.
Yeah, well, that's what we saw in some of the... doesn't appear to be any redraw as they get closer. It's not like they're loading them in bit by bit.
I'm in Scotland, Legion. Good to see, mate.
And again, we've seen these vids a few times now, so we'll not dwell on them.
So we did ask the question of Florian, is it a 2x map, and what about a 4x map, if they thought about that? And the main reason he gave back for us, and this is quite a good answer and an understandable answer, was they want to focus on putting as much information and authenticity and emotion into the map that they can. And a 4x map's 4 times the size. It's 4 kilometers by 4 kilometers. So it would take 4 times as long or 4 times as many people to build it. So they want to stay focused on this size map, get as much content, features, detail into the map as they can, and leave the 4X maps up to the others. So.
That's right. That's right. And the fact that they've really boosted the textures, they were like, well, let's go for maps that run well.
Yep.
And then avoid the any of the, but they could come in the future, right?
Yeah, and that's not to say, I mean, they haven't said anything about 4X maps on console, but you know, the main issue with those is as soon as you bump up the amount of data that's save games, it's limited by how much space Sony and Microsoft allocate to be able to use for save games. So, you know, they could potentially allow 4X maps, but you might only have 10 save slots rather than 20.
Yeah.
Or you might have less slots for your mods and things like that. So it's a trade-off that they've just got to balance.
And they may be negotiating to get more space as well. So we don't know that yet either.
That's right.
So there we go. Some like stunning. Oh, that's the spinach. So spinach is a field crop. We didn't know whether or not it would be grown in greenhouses or in fields. So that's
right.
That's a nice touch as well.
And we did ask about how it's harvested, and we got a we can't tell you yet response. So I've had a little bit of a look.
Spinach harvesters?
Well, so both Oxbow and Grimmy, who are both manufacturers in game, they both do self-propelled spinach harvesters for baby spinach leaves. So
there you go.
Could be something like that.
Interesting. Two brands that are already in the game.
Yeah.
This is just showing the density of the grass and these new different plant types. It's cool.
I kept it hidden, Strody, so you didn't know it was here until I was in the door.
I actually stood in the shop while he bought it.
Encouraged me to.
But shots like that, look at that. I mean, how nice does that look with the new shadows, reflections, water?
And these shots are cooler than to me than the CGI trailer, because this is in game.
Yeah, you're actually looking at in-game shots here. I mean, look at that. How fantastic does that look? We've never had a farm sim game that looked as good as that.
Best part is you're probably never going to go to a spot like that in the map anyway.
Never. I'm going to make a point of finding that now.
There we go.
Running streams as well, which obviously we saw in Silver Run, which are a lovely addition. Great to see.
Now, speculation on those running streams. If anything, like previous releases of the map, these maps will be available to open and get the assets out of, because that's, you know, always been the base game maps are always in that sort of base map folder, and you can access everything. So it may be that all of these, everything you've seen here is, fingers crossed, going to be available to
modders straight
cool.
away. Yeah, definitely. But again, it's the detail in the background I love here, that everything still seems to be sharp and in focus, and there isn't this kind of degradation that we saw in FS22, or things just plain disappearing because.
Yeah, that's right.
And so the animal dealer, I mean, I don't think there's much spectacularly big here, but obviously we can get animals within the sheds now, so there's a little bit more life to these, whether or not these pens fill up or not, or there's just the odd one or two animals. Hoping animals get a big update. Me too, Pleasant. They've said nothing yet about animals.
No.
So I'm keen to see what they're going to do with that. They're not going to not touch them. Let's be honest.
No, and they've added water buffalo, but that's just, adding an animal in is probably actually quite simple. It's just the model, really.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
It's what else you can do.
Just a reskin.
A rehide. But it looks good. I mean, these shots look good, right? There's just so much more to these than we've seen before with screenshots. So very excited about that. You don't have to age and not die, but after a certain age, they no longer produce eggs on milk. Yeah. I know they're trying to keep their 3 rating. They're very proud of that, Giants, because it kind of keeps it open to as many people as possible. But at the same time,
you and your firewood mod lead.
So there we go. A few more little shots. A tractor driving around. We've seen kind of this. There's nothing, I think, hugely. The dust off the tires is nice. And there's the tire tracks that we see there. So things like real dirt mod and things like that. I think
this was their tease for animals being in the pens. That's the main thing we saw when they did this in the pre-stream.
Yeah.
This is cool. I like this.
Well, I think there's a load more in building stuff that's nice, isn't there? So you can fill these up with stuff.
Yeah, bring your products to the sell point and it fills them up, and you can't refill it till it's disappeared.
Yeah.
So it kind of, you get a better price for it, but until it's disappeared, you can't fill it up again, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. So you can't sell, 100,000 liters because supply and demand thing is in there.
But there's also, from a role play point of view, if you want to do that sort of thing, there's a lot more interior. Well, it seems to be, from what they've shown us, a lot more interior spaces for buildings, which is cool. The big old green elevator was pretty cool.
That's right. Yeah. So there you go. the kind of roadside selling points. Now these are quite nice. These new productions, but also the buildable houses.
Buildable houses. Yep.
Excited to see those. So you can build. It doesn't say what yet, but new production, small production units. So not everything's a massive factory.
Yep.
I didn't even pay attention.
I didn't pay attention to what this was.
I have no idea.
Someone might be able to tell me.
They just look at it and then they go off somewhere else. So I don't really know what's on. Now they did say that this, the old
elevator.
I'm going to say it's going to go down here. It's just looking at these productions over here. The fact they're going over the river, but this is one of the smaller productions, isn't it? The how long is this vid? They do a lot of walking around scenically before they get to the shop, but this is a little sawmill, isn't it? And you can produce different things within this that rather than kind of there's like I think we'll see it in a minute, a little vehicle, or a little toy trailer that you can make. Also, the old, where is it? There it is, down at the bottom.
Down the bottom right.
So you've got obviously some big productions still. A little carriage in there as well, like a horse-drawn carriage that you can build. I've seen it one there. Barns as well. So a lot of people said you couldn't use the barns and the vehicles. Sorry, the barns and the houses and the sheds in 22, and that annoyed people that you'd have farms that you had literally were useless. And then you couldn't delete them either. Well, a lot more of the buildings are movable, innable now. Now, this is the thing that got me excited. So you have to restore this. This is almost like a side project, isn't it?
It becomes a museum.
Yeah.
So it's not what, when I first saw this, I thought, oh, you have to restore it and it becomes a sell point or something like that. But no, it's not. But you can go inside it and it becomes almost an antiques museum, and it interacts with the collectibles. So similar to Silver and Forest, if you remember that, you collected all the wooden carvings and it made a museum or an art gallery. There was the apple tree or pear tree or fruit tree or whatever it was on thing. I like that it had some depth in the pit.
Yeah. Just the fact you can walk around this, and I'm guessing once it's finished, you can walk around. You can continue to walk around. What's that little
paper hat?
Boat or a boat. That's interesting, isn't it? Yeah. So yeah, there's just the fact you can walk around. And so this wasn't a thing at all in 22 with a lot of the base game building. So it's nice to see. And there we go. That's the end of it. Sunset Sunflower Farm. We thought was an interesting name.
On Riverbend Springs.
Yes, the longest name ever. I wonder if you have to deliver materials to it for it to build. Correct, AJ. That's what you'll have to do. They'll give you like the roller coaster.
The buildable houses are going to be placeables. So once you've built the ones on the map, you can put more down.
Yeah. And again, that's a case of delivering wood to them and different things at different stages to build the houses.
Yeah. So one other cool thing we got out of Florian talking to him, because part of the reason they chose the inspiration for the map was around the terrain. And we talked a little bit about the rice and building rice paddies. Yeah. So the rice paddies, you can create your own rice fields, floodable rice fields. Yeah. And it uses the fencing tool. So basically click 4 points, create a box. If you do it on too much of a slope, it will level it out. Yeah. Because obviously you can't flood the side of a hill. But so it was kind of interesting to hear how that's intended to be done. Obviously, haven't seen it yet. But it does mean, you're not... they're not just already there, and you just have to deal with what's there. You can create your own. You can create your own rice fields. So that was nice to hear. Okay. Last one of the three from day one was the machineries and gameplay. So there's some interesting stuff in here, wasn't there, Args? Certainly was.
So obviously we'd seen this already.
Yeah. The main thing with the rice, we've got a greenhouse. There's two ways you can do it. You don't have to use the greenhouse to grow saplings, but they thought it was kind of a cool extension on gameplay that you need to grow your own rice plants before you can go and plant them. Yeah.
Alternatively, you can
just go buy them.
Buy a pallet like you buy a pallet of poplars.
Yeah. So I like the graphics are quite nice for the HUD too.
Yeah, we were both talking about how much we like the HUD, didn't we?
Interestingly, there's a new mod come out today where you can change the HUD colors, and one of them is a very similar green. So if you want to start getting your FS22, like it will be for 25, you can do that.
Yeah.
But there you go. So it's created a pallet, and you'll see they pick that up with the tractor and drive that down and put it on the back of the rice planter. And we've skipped straight past that and gone to rice harvesting.
Sorry.
That's right.
Let me see if I can get there. There we go.
So there we go. You've got the pallet there that's been driven down. Interestingly, you see solid fertilizer there. So you must be able to put fertilizer into the spreader. Onto the planter. Can't see where. Oh, those little black boxes? Yeah.
Possibly, yeah, sitting behind it, yeah.
So we did see them fill this field up before they turned the tap on. Got that filled up. It's kind of, the one thing I do struggle with a little bit. It looks a bit janky going up and over the edge.
But, yeah. Crofty, you're peaking 15 minutes early, mate.
He wants to go and sing God Save the King.
He does, yeah. FS Minor, how are you doing? Nice to see you.
Hey, FS Minor.
What
must be creating swimming pools. I won't be swimming that dirty water. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. But again, look at the bow wave there. It's just really natural, isn't it? Which is nice. Love that.
Yep. Is there an Asia map? Yes, 100% there's an Asia map, David. They announced that with the CGI trailer.
Yeah.
We just won't see it for a while. I wonder if we'll see that before Gamescom, because they're going to have.
Yeah, I think they'll hold that. I think they'll hold that back. I think all the playable. I bet you the playables on the US map. They're definitely going to hold back a couple of big ticket items, I think, before launch.
Absolutely. So this is a sort of first look at the Argsy rice harvester, kind of a compact little tracked machine.
Yeah. So this is the rice.
Rice, not long grain rice. Yeah, so we've got rice and long grain rice.
And you said like it's a lot higher in the field. This very different crop to the long grain rice. There we go. So we'll let that drop down. And I like the animation in this as well.
Reminds me of a cotton picker or a sugarcane harvester.
Yeah.
Just on a smaller scale. But yeah, the way you see the rice go up around the sort of outside of the harvester is pretty cool.
Strips it. Like you said, that's a bit janky, that drop into the field. Yeah. It could be a bit kind of shallower.
I'm actually intrigued as how they do drive if they're doing into that. Do they have a certain point they always go in and out of, which is a little bit softer? Or
true.
What?
Yeah. But it's a nice animation as it flows up the side there, isn't it?
Yeah. Not much capacity, though. Are we up to almost 10%? Maybe 2,000 litres?
Yeah.
See where it gets to 10.
That's a good point, actually. There really isn't a lot of volume to the rice either, is there?
No. Well, not storage space in there. So, yeah, must be 2,000 litre storage in there.
Interesting.
And then the long grain rice, which is, like we said, it's a slightly different texture. It looks shorter, particularly when you see it running through, or the combine running through it. It's a shorter looking plant. And they do run that, I think, the CR11, don't they?
They do. And this is really nice.
No, they didn't have any playable copies at FarmCon FS Minor. All of this is just from the FarmCon presentations. So I believe Gamescom will be the first chance that anyone will have to see a playable copy.
Yeah, which is in a few weeks.
August in Hanover.
That's right. That's right. So, and we've seen a lot of the CR11. Now, there's just one bit of this that I thought was really nice when you get into it and you unfold the reflections on the top when you unfold the
exhaust looking pretty good on that too.
Yeah.
And the reflections of the equipment.
On the equipment, it's really nicely done.
Now, actually, when we get going here in a second, they'll jump in cab. And we'll talk a little bit about something that came up in the modding discussion on the Sunday. But there you go. So you can see the two monitors that both have the New Holland. So something they shared in the modding presentation on the Sunday was that those can all be customizable.
Yeah.
And you can have different displays, and there's a set number of parameters you can display. So it's all done by XML coding and
more parameters,
that sort of thing. Yeah.
More parameters than they had in 19. So
I thought that's pretty
in 22. Cool. So there's lots going on there.
Customizable monitors.
Which is good. Hey, Hanson, how you doing, mate?
How you doing? CA abducted by aliens.
And the windrower as well.
And the windrow, so the windrow is cool with the way it drives. So it's got a reversible seat and can tow its own header. So if you've used the ones that are in game at the moment, BC Bueller's ones, fantastic mods and do a great job of swathing. But if you were trying to drag a big header like this, they were pretty difficult to use. Whereas this seems to solve that situation really nicely.
Yeah. So look, the seat is sitting in the cab there, the other way around. So you're driving it in essence like a tractor, aren't you? And then when you get to the field, you can rotate the seat round like you can do in some of the Valtras, and it'll and you can drive it back the other way.
Hook up the header and you're away laughing.
That's right. I actually saw BC Bueller put a nice post saying how delighted he was to see swathing in the game.
Yeah.
No animosity or annoyance that his swathing mod from 22 had been.
Hey, it might be more that MacDon saw what he'd done and thought we want to be part of that.
Absolutely, yeah. So
very cool.
So there we go.
Nothing. To be fair, FS Minor, we were doing a factory tour when they were doing a lot of the mod discussions on the Sunday, so we didn't really hear too much about that. Plus, it was all in German, so a bit over my head.
Just thinking the exhaust looks good there as well.
Yeah, well, that's what I thought on the Combine before too. There you go. Seats all turned around, and I'll go and hook up to the header and get wind runs.
Just a lovely detail in this model, though. Just so much more going on from the lighting perspective.
Yep.
There we go.
That's nice. Hey, Shia, how you doing?
Yes.
Fisher J, nice to see you, and great to meet you as well, mate.
Oh, yeah. How you doing,
Hope
mate?
you had a good trip home.
There you go. Header being put away here. Nothing to swath there. I'll go to the next field.
Yep.
So we'll let them do that. Still slightly, well, will you judge for yourselves? We talked about this before the stream, but swaths still looking a little bit kind of angular. And I think they look better than they did. They're smoother because obviously you've got a kind of tighter density map, but definitely, I think, kind of one of the areas where I thought we might see a little bit more. And it's a lot of ridges in it, isn't there?
Yeah.
Which doesn't feel particular, especially if you're running at a constant speed, you shouldn't see ridges like that.
The one thing for me is it looks like it's all chopped, really finely chopped straw. You're not getting big, long
swaths
lengths of straw. You're cutting the plant off right at the base, and it's kind of going through in that whole length. It'll be interesting actually to see if there's a difference in texture between a swath crop pre-pickup and post-pickup when you're just dropping the straw.
Yeah. Multi-screen support. Not heard anything about that yet, Mark, but you never know.
Definitely need the pre-order from the MacDon. So you need the pre-order for the MacDon, full MacDon pack. I do believe there is a MacDon or a swather that's in the game.
That's right.
By base game.
Yeah.
I'm sure more will come out about that, but I'm pretty sure there's one that can be branded as Case or New Holland as well.
Yeah, that's right. So yeah, you don't need the pack to be able to swath, but if you want the MacDon stuff, and the likelihood is post-launch, it will be sold as a DLC.
Likelihood is, yeah. That seems to have been the status quo previously.
In essence, you'll just get. Was that red shirt? I think it might be Middlesbrough. I don't know. I've not seen it before.
2024-2025 season shirt, the J-Bot.
And then the wrap and the netting for the balers. Also, this baler we've not seen a round baler from John Deere in the game before, so that was quite a nice touch. And the 6R model looking really nice too. But yes, you can refill your net. And you can refill your wrap if you want to do silage bales, but you don't have to.
No,
you can just hit R and
refill
them. You don't have to kind of go into detail. So they're going to pick up a forklift is going to bring over the stuff, and you can do it that way and have a little bit more immersion if you want. But equally, if you don't want to, you can just pull up.
So because it's got the net in the baler, it'll fill up the grass bale, spit it out the back. It'll wrap the net, but it won't wrap it for silage. Yeah, and then they refill it. So you see that. Very nice looking baler.
It is. I'm not sure I like that. How in your face that
the warning is. Yeah,
it's quite bold, isn't it?
It's softer than the previous one though, because the previous one would have been a big red
That's
warning
true.
across it, wasn't it?
Yeah. I like the fact that that was it. The real engine mod allows you to turn off the notifications. So if anybody wants to make a mod YOS where you can disable the warnings, that would be awesome.
I think we've determined from tonight's stream, Yoss doesn't make mods.
Oh yes, he did say that, didn't he?
No.
So there we go. There's the Ranny wrap.
Ranny wrap.
As you saw from DJ and Farmer Cop this week.
Yep.
As they continue to throw videos at YouTube and hope something sticks.
So it's interesting. That was a foil wrap on this. So you got 3 different types of wrap there.
Yeah.
The one on the left, which is your net, and then I'm pretty sure it said foil wrap on the other side.
That's right. And now you are.
No, that's 4.
You are able to change the color of the wrap for your bales as well, aren't you? Which is nice.
Yep. And actually, talking to the Rani wrap guy on Friday, when they were setting up, he was saying they have different colors are used more predominantly in different regions. So the Bavarian region of Germany, they use the darker green because it blends in with the forests around and trees and that around the edge of their fields a lot more.
Interesting. That's interesting.
Yep.
So there you go. They brought it up. They're going to load things up.
To refill.
There we go.
It's disappearing off the pallet and it's appearing on the side of the baler.
There we go. And we are wrapping, and there's the dark green that I was talking about.
It's been Bavarian. It's been Bavarian map confirmed.
Yeah. So there we go. That looks really good. I think that's a kind of nice touch. Oh, did you see the stretch of the wrap there as it pulled away? That was quite nice as well. So there you go. I'd be interested to see if the AI workers can do baling now.
Yeah, so that was one of the questions, whether with the GPS and the way it's done now, whether AI workers will bail. We don't know about that yet. We also don't know, another question someone raised was whether having a GPS hired worker is going to cost more. And that whether there's going to be a cost difference between workers or not.
Yeah,
whether GPS is actually going to cost to put on your tractor or whether it's just everything's equipped with it. All those kind of questions.
Yeah, that is a good question. Yeah, we're going to follow up with that one, aren't we? And just find out what we can
see what we can figure out.
Found out with that.
Good sound
on the end of the wrapping too. GPS and AI helpers. So 2 separate things. I think there's a bit of confusion about that as well. So GPS worker will turn up in the field. And there will be a predetermined based on the width of your.
So this is GPS.
This is GPS. So based on the width of the equipment you've got, it will detect the field. But in essence, what you're doing is lining it up, switching it on, and pressing the accelerator like you do with guidance steering or VC at the moment. So you it's half automated in terms of you've still got to be there and babysit the tractor, whereas the AI worker is very much like the AI workers at the moment. You switch it on, you leave it, and go and do something else entirely.
Yep.
So you can see here, just about to be switched on now. If you watch in the bottom corner there, it goes to green. So at this point, you're just holding the accelerator down. It's holding the straight line. But when you get to the end here, it switches itself off, or you switch it off. It's still green, actually. Look.
Yeah,
so,
you go straight on, and then you.
So actually, it's some interaction with it. Switches it off. And then you've got to switch it back on once you've moved it again. So you're doing that steering on the ends.
Now, someone made an interesting observation here, is that the mowers doesn't seem to be mowing the edge of the field, even though there's a bit of an overlap.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether that's a difference, whether it's a different type of grass textures are mowable or not.
Interesting. Yeah, good point. Yeah, look here. It rolls into the... does it roll into the... Oh, we left it.
Up.
But yeah, it's very neat and tidy. This looks great, to be honest. I think this is a huge step forward, especially for console players who've never had the option of anything like this. This is going to be make a huge difference.
Massive.
And then the AI workers. I think a really good example here. Again, this is all going to be automatic. Stefan said what we wanted to do. He said one of the challenges for a lot of people, something like course play can be quite daunting and takes a while to get your head around. People just want to turn up and press the button and make it work. So there's no, you basically roll up to the field and it calculates a default plan like this, but they're looking also at making it work where you can kind of adapt the number of headlands you want to do to it and things like that as well. So
Anthem, cool. Thank you, Mark. Well, just watching that again, what interests me is the way the tractor maneuvers.
Yeah.
Particularly after the headland. So you see it misses that little bit on the right.
Yeah.
It actually picks that up going past. But you'll see here, gets into position, does that short pass, but then backs up.
Yeah.
And but the other end's doing a loop, and then this end's doing a reverse turn.
Yeah.
Because it's not parallel with the field.
Yeah.
So I hadn't picked up on that before. Just seeing
it's
that.
interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that looks great as well. I mean, come on. I mean, compared to current workers.
Okay, Rock. So Corn Hub, he had an interview. I saw he had an interview with Chucky. I just haven't watched it yet. But said GPS was standard, not viable. Okay,
excellent.
Good to know. There we go.
Good stuff. Thank you, Rock. And this is a field course debug. So this is actually, this isn't, I think there was some confusion in the game. This is within Giants Editor, but this is where you can check to see what the course, the default course will be within, and you can put the widths in. So this is basically just saying, what would it look like if I did 2 headlands, 3 headlands, etc., etc.
Yep.
So people thought you were going to have to map every field. The modders would have to map every field, but that's not the case.
Be interesting to see how it handles more complicated fields. You know, ones with lots of ins and outs, or something with an island in the middle, power lines, or something like that. Yeah. We haven't seen that yet.
But that's interesting. The way that one was reversing, this one looks like it's doing turns at each end.
I think that's because it's 90 degrees. Oh no, it's doing it up the other end too. Yeah.
Anyway. So it's interesting. And again, this is the field course debug for, I think this is for GPS, isn't it? So again, you can scan the fields and just see what's what, and make sure that it's not kind of crossing over fields and things like that.
So I think the limit with GPS is at the moment you can, like if you're on PC, you can probably set it to whatever angle you want. Wherever you're set to, you set your GPS line, whereas this is going to just choose the optimal setting for you and just
longest edge basically all the time, isn't it? Yeah. So awesome. So there you go.
2 minutes to kick off.
We did it.
Hey, Darren.
Hey, Darren.
Nice to meet you as well, mate.
We met so many lovely. In fact, let's use the last minute. We spent
just watch Omatana's song, because that basically sums up what the weekend was like.
There's 2 sides to FarmCon. 2 is like learning all the new stuff about the game, which is great. But actually, spending time with all of the people that were there was amazing. Totally brilliant. And probably the real highlight of the weekend, wasn't it?
Oh, it always is. Yeah.
If you do ever get the chance to go to a FarmCon, we couldn't recommend it more, could we? Because it's such a great experience, and hopefully, like people like Crofter, who was there, and Darren Dool's first time, J-Bot's first time, you know, they will hopefully say the same thing. Kartek was with us, Mark Haythornthwaite was with us.
Yeah.
Those
people's
guys
first time to Germany. It was a good excuse to get to Germany. People's first time out of the country.
Absolutely.
It was just cool that this event can get people together and with a common interest. Everyone's just a great bunch of people. So
100%.
Highly recommend it. They did release the dates for next year, which is the beginning of July.
That's right.
Same
they
weekend.
Announced that right at the end, didn't they? Yeah. So, that's awesome.
Keep your diary, block your diary.
But on that note,
let's go watch some football.
Let's go watch some football. Come on, England. Good luck to the Dutch as well. May the best team win.
I'm sure they will.
Which will be Spain in the final.
Yes. Well, the 16-year-old doing it all.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, he'll be 17 by then.
He will. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. It's great to be able to bring you this from FSG studio.
Yeah.
In person.
Hanging out with this guy from the other side of the world.
Good fun.
Right.
Good times. All right. Take care.